There's something magical about 6 p.m. It's that peculiar time of day when the sun begins its descent, when offices start emptying out, when the hustle of the day meets the promise of the evening. But let me ask you something. What does 6 p.m. represent in your life? For most people, 6 p.m. is when they finally breathe a sigh of relief, thinking, thank God the day is over. They're exhausted, depleted, ready to collapse on their couch and scroll mindlessly through their phones. But what if I told you that 6 p.m. could be the most powerful hour of your day? What if, instead of being the end of your productivity, it could be the beginning of your transformation? Let me share a story with you. There was once a farmer who had 2 sons. Every morning, both sons would wake up early and work in the fields alongside their father. They would toil under the hot sun, tending to the crops, feeding the animals, doing all the hard work that farming demands. By 6 p.m., both sons would return home, tired and sweaty. The first son would immediately lie down, complaining about how exhausting the day had been, how his muscles ached, how unfair it was that they had to work so hard. He would spend his evening in this state of complaint and rest. The second son, however, would do something different. After coming home at 6 p.m., he would take a short rest, freshen up, and then spend 2 hours reading books about modern farming techniques, learning about soil management, studying weather patterns, and understanding market trends. Years passed. The father grew old and divided his land between his 2 sons. The first son continued farming the way he always had, the way his father had taught him. The second son implemented everything he had learned during those evening hours. He rotated crops scientifically, used innovative irrigation methods, understood when to sell his produce for maximum profit. Within a few years, the second son's farm was flourishing beyond imagination, while the first son's farm remained mediocre. The difference wasn't in their talent, their initial resources, or even their hard work during the day. The difference was in what they did at 6 p.m. This is what I call the 6 p.m. winning mindset. It's the understanding that while most people shut down at 6 p.m., winners are just warming up. You see, life doesn't reward those who work hard only when they feel like it, or only during designated working hours. Life rewards those who understand that greatness is built in the margins, in those hours when nobody is watching, when there's no boss to impress, no deadline to meet, no external pressure pushing you forward. The real question is, what pushes you forward when nothing external is pushing you? Think about the most successful people you know or have heard about. Do you think they switch off at 6 p.m. when everyone else is settling into their evening routine? These individuals are reading, learning, practicing their craft, working on their side projects, building their dreams. They understand something profound. The day job pays your bills, but what you do after 6 p.m. builds your future. Your 9 to 5 might give you a living, but your 6 to 10 gives you a life. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but Gaur Gopal, I'm so tired by 6 p.m. I've worked hard all day. Don't I deserve rest? And my response to you is this: absolutely you deserve rest. But let's understand what rest really means. Is scrolling through social media for 3 hours rest? Is watching random videos that add no value to your life rest? Is complaining about your day to anyone who will listen rest? Or is rest something more intentional? Something that actually rejuvenates you, prepares you for tomorrow, and moves you closer to your goals. There's a beautiful concept in ancient wisdom that says the quality of your tomorrow is determined by the quality of your today. And more specifically, the quality of your tomorrow morning is determined by the quality of your tonight. If you spend your evening filling your mind with negativity, junk content, purposeless activities, how can you expect to wake up inspired and energized? The 6 p.m. winning mindset isn't about working yourself to exhaustion. It's about working strategically on what matters most to you. Let me tell you about the power of just 1 hour. If you dedicate just 1 focused hour every evening after 6 p.m. to learning a new skill, do you know where you'll be in a year? Let's do the math together. 1 hour a day for 365 days equals 365 hours. That's more than 15 full days of focused learning. In 15 days of concentrated effort, you could learn a new language to conversational level, master a musical instrument, become proficient in coding, develop expertise in digital marketing, or write a book. But most people never tap into this potential because they don't have the 6 p.m. winning mindset. The tragedy is that people are not failing because they lack time. They're failing because they lack priorities. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. The CEO of a multinational company has 24 hours. The struggling entrepreneur has 24 hours. The student preparing for exams has 24 hours. You have 24 hours. The difference is in how those hours are invested. And the evening hours, those precious hours after your regular commitments, those are the hours that separate the dreamers from the achievers. But here's what's beautiful about the 6 p.m. winning mindset. It's not just about professional success or skill development. It's about becoming the person you want to be. Maybe you want to be healthier. What if at 6 p.m., instead of collapsing on the couch, you went for a 30-minute walk or workout? In 6 months, you'd be unrecognizable, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. Maybe you want better relationships with your family. What if at 6 p.m., you put away all devices and spent quality time with your loved ones, really listening to them, reconnecting with them? In a few months, your home environment would transform completely. Perhaps you want to be more spiritual, more connected with your inner self. What if at 6 p.m., you dedicated time to meditation, prayer, reading spiritual texts, or simply sitting in silence? Your entire consciousness would shift. The 6 p.m. winning mindset isn't about adding more stress to your life. It's about adding more purpose, more direction, more meaning. Now let me address something important. Some of you might be thinking, this sounds great in theory, but I have so many responsibilities. I have a family to take care of, household chores to do, unexpected situations that arise. I understand life is complex, and I'm not suggesting that you ignore all responsibilities. What I'm suggesting is that you become intentional about your time. Even if you can't dedicate a full hour every single day, what about 30 minutes? What about 20 minutes? The point isn't perfection. The point is direction. There's a story about a bamboo tree that illustrates this perfectly. When you plant bamboo, you water it and care for it every single day. For the first year, nothing happens. No visible growth. Second year, still nothing. Third year, nothing. Fourth year, still no sign of growth. But in the fifth year, the bamboo tree grows 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Now, did the bamboo tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow over 5 years? The answer is obvious. It was growing all along, developing a massive root system underground that would eventually support its incredible growth. Your 6 p.m. efforts are like watering that bamboo tree. You might not see immediate results. Your colleagues might not notice. Your friends might not understand why you're working when you could be relaxing. But underground, beneath the surface, you're building an unshakable foundation. You're developing skills, knowledge, discipline, and character that will eventually propel you to heights others can't even imagine. The 6 p.m. winning mindset is also about energy management, not just time management. You see, we often think we're too tired to do anything meaningful in the evening, but that's often because we are spending our energy on things that drain us rather than fuel us. Complaining drains energy. Gossiping drains energy. Watching depressing news drains energy. But pursuing your passion gives you energy. Learning something new energizes you. Working toward a meaningful goal, even if it's challenging, energizes you. It's a paradox. Sometimes we need to do something to get the energy to do that thing. Think about it this way. When you're doing something you love, something that matters to you, do you feel tired? When a child is playing their favorite game, do they complain about being tired? When an artist is lost in their creation, do they watch the clock? When a musician is playing their instrument, do they think about how exhausting it is? No, because they're engaged in something meaningful. The 6 p.m. winning mindset invites you to engage with life meaningfully during your evening hours, not just passively consume whatever comes your way. Here's another crucial aspect. Your evening routine sets up your morning routine. If you spend your evening productively, reading, learning, planning, preparing, You go to bed with a sense of accomplishment and clarity. You wake up energized, knowing what you need to do. But if you waste your evening on meaningless activities, you go to bed feeling empty and wake up feeling unmotivated. The cycle of success or the cycle of mediocrity often begins at 6 p.m. I want you to imagine two versions of yourself. The first version comes home at 6 p.m., switches on the TV or starts scrolling through social media, eats dinner mindlessly while staring at a screen, complains about how hard life is, and goes to bed at 11 p.m. having accomplished nothing toward their dreams. The second version comes home at 6 p.m., takes a short break to transition, spends time with family, dedicates an hour to personal development or working on a meaningful project, reads for 30 minutes before bed, and sleeps peacefully, knowing they move forward today. Now fast forward 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. These two versions of you will be living completely different lives. And the divergence point? 6 p.m. The 6 p.m. winning mindset also requires you to protect your time fiercely in the evening. Everyone wants a piece of you. Friends want to chat, relatives want to call. Entertainment wants to seduce you. Laziness wants to convince you that you deserve rest. You need to be like a guardian of your own potential, protecting those evening hours like they are precious jewels, because they are. This doesn't mean you become antisocial or neglect relationships. It means you're intentional. You schedule your social time, you're present when you're with people, and you also schedule your growth time and you're disciplined about protecting it. There's tremendous power in consistency. Doing something once doesn't create change. Doing it occasionally doesn't create transformation. But doing it consistently, even in small doses, creates miracles. The 6 p.m. winning mindset is about showing up for yourself every single day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Because that's when character is built. Not when you're motivated and inspired, but when you're tired and tempted to quit, yet you show up anyway. Let me share something personal with you. There have been countless evenings when I felt too tired to study, too exhausted to write, too drained to prepare for the next day's talks. But I learned something powerful. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. We think we need to feel motivated before we act, but the truth is we need to act to feel motivated. And you start doing something meaningful. Even if you're tired, energy begins to flow. It's like priming a water pump. You need to put in effort initially, but once the water starts flowing, it keeps flowing. The 6 p.m. winning mindset is ultimately about self-respect. It's about respecting yourself enough to invest in your own growth. It's about respecting your dreams enough to work on them when nobody's watching. It's about respecting your potential enough to not waste it on mindless activities. When you lie on your deathbed someday, you won't regret the TV shows you didn't watch or the social media posts you didn't see. But you might regret the person you could have become if only you had used your time more wisely. Think about the areas of your life where you feel stuck or dissatisfied. Now ask yourself honestly, have you dedicated even 1 hour of focused evening time to improving that area? If you're unsatisfied with your career, have you spent your evenings learning new skills or building a side project? If you're unsatisfied with your health, have you spent your evenings exercising or learning about nutrition? If you're unsatisfied with your relationships, have you spent your evenings really connecting with people or learning about emotional intelligence? Most of the time, we're dissatisfied with areas of our life where we've made no real investment. The beautiful thing about developing a 6 p.m. winning mindset is that it creates a positive spiral in your life. When you start using your evenings productively, you feel better about yourself. When you feel better about yourself, you have more energy and positivity. When you have more energy and positivity, you perform better in all areas of life. When you perform better, you get better results. When you get better results, you feel even more motivated to continue. It's an upward spiral of growth and success. But the opposite is also true. When you waste your evenings, you feel guilty and unfulfilled. When you feel guilty and unfulfilled, your energy drops. When your energy drops, you perform poorly. When you perform poorly, you get poor results. When you get poor results, you feel even less motivated. It's a downward spiral of mediocrity and frustration. The choice of which spiral you enter often happens at 6 p.m. So here's my challenge to you today, starting tonight. Implement the 6 p.m. winning mindset. Decide what matters most to you. Maybe it's learning a skill. Maybe it's working on your health. Maybe it's building a business. Maybe it's deepening your relationships or spirituality. Whatever it is, dedicate the time between 6 p.m. and whenever you sleep to activities that align with that priority. Be ruthless about eliminating time wasters. Be intentional about every hour. Be consistent even when it's difficult. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every successful person once stood where you're standing now. The only difference is they made a decision to use their time differently, and they stuck with that decision long enough to see results. You have that same power within you. You have those same evening hours available to you. The only question is, what will you do with them? Will you be part of the majority who let their evenings slip away in meaningless activities, or will you be part of the minority who build their dreams one evening at a time? The 6 p.m. winning mindset is in T, about becoming a different person overnight. It's about making a small shift every day that, compounded over time, creates massive transformation. It's about understanding that you don't need to find time, you need to make time. It's about realizing that your future self is depending on the choices your current self makes right now, at 6 p.m. today, tomorrow, and every day after that. Your dreams are not going to manifest by themselves. Your goals are not going to achieve themselves. Your potential is not going to fulfill itself. They all need your active participation, your dedicated time, your focused energy. And the best time to give them that? Starting at 6 p.m. when everyone else is switching off, but you're just getting started. That's the 6 p.m. winning mindset, and it will change your life if you let it.